Hello everybody, my name is 60 People. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new. And today we're going to continue What If. By the way, almost at 100 subscribers. Really appreciate it if you subscribe. But anyways, let's get into the What If. So we continue our story after Deku has fought an All for One, almost got himself killed, but he survived, has woken up, and is talked to his mom, and I think Deku took a bit of a break after that. But after his break, he went back to school, and Todoroki invited him to go to his father's agency, which he agreed to because, why not? It's a nice learning experience from the number one hero. Oh, by the way, he missed the whole Endeavor fighting the high-end Nomu. He missed it because he was on he was at a different country. But yeah. So Deku goes over and sees Endeavor's massive scar and asks where he got that. Endeavor saying, in a fight with the Nomu. And Deku says that I guess he's glad he won. Endeavor says he's glad too. But yeah. So Endeavor teaches Deku how to, use his electricity more effectively. Because usually Deku just sends out stuff and hope it hits. But Endeavor suggests that he uses his environment more. With Deku thinking maybe he should. So, yeah. Anyways, so we get to the part where about a lot of people are gonna get hurt, but All Might shows up to save a girl, with Bako saving her. And Deku tells All Might to stay safe, because losing him would be the end of the world, really. Be losing the symbol of peace. All Might says that he can't just stand by while people get hurt. Bako then chimes in telling me stupid, because there are 4 pro heroes here, including the number 1 now. So, after that, Deku gets an alert on his phone saying from Aizawa that there's been that they're gonna go to the League of Villains base of operations. It's nearby of where Deku is, so he tells him to stay safe. Yeah. So Deku puts his phone away after that to help with more people leave the area, because Aizawa was doing the whole League of Villain tirade. And then Deku hears a giant explosion and looks over to see, the craters and stuff. So Shigaraki bursts from the ground after destroying all of it, and then flies over towards the biggest city to destroy it. Just to prove a point. Of course, Endeavor intercepts him, gets his butt kicked, and then Shigaraki mocks him with the pose that Endeavor did to the Nomu. Deku then sees Shigaraki flying over to them, which they are in close proximity to the biggest city. And so Deku flies over towards Shigaraki, with Bako and Todoroki following close behind. And then Shigaraki turns around and then just shoots a giant shockwave towards them, because he doesn't care about them at all. Because neither of them have All for One. Honestly, in the city, so is All Might. All Might's in the city, so he's trying to grab the reverence of it. In this version, One for All has not been given away to anyone yet. So then, Todoroki and Bakugo and Deku keep following Shigaraki, while Todoroki goes to check on Endeavor. And Shigaraki doesn't really care about them, he's just flying straight towards All Might. Eventually, Bakugo realizes that he's flying towards All Might, then that gets Shigaraki's attention, because he's realizing they're trying to stop him. So he flies over to Deku, trying to grab him, but Deku just dashes around him, grabbing his head again, trying to tase it, but before he can do it, he gets shockwaved away. Then Bakugo shoots out a huge explosion, which Shigaraki just tanks completely, flying over to Bakugo. But Deku dashes Thunderclap and flashes over, and Dragon Fist him, pushing punching him closer to the ground and smashing him into it, revealing a buttload of rocks flying in the air. So Deku shoots out electric tentacles, and then Deku just throws a buttload of them at him, remembering the teachings of Endeavor to use his environment. So Shigaraki gets buried under the rubble, and then he bursts out of it to reach towards Deku. But Deku, knowing that's basically a death sentence, reveals that he has an electric sword that bursts from his knuckles like sideways. So, yeah. Then Shigaraki reels back in annoyance and then tries to swipe at Deku with another hand. But Deku cuts that one off as well, and then does a huge shockwave. Then shoots out a buttload of dragons from his pipe things, because remember, he's wearing his hero outfit, like he is in the original. Then Shigaraki gets hit with both dragons. Then they combine into one big dragon and just start swiping Shigaraki. Eventually, the pro heroes show up to help Deku and All For One. I mean, Deku and Bakuro. So Aizawa stuns Shigaraki, and yeah. So Endeavor coming in with a flash fist, punching Shigaraki off Deku because they were in close proximity. And so Bakuro and Deku back up because Endeavor's the pro hero, so he should be helping. So then all the pro heroes start jumping Shigaraki, but Shigaraki, being how strong he is, he just sends out a shockwave, flying over to the Dragon Lady, swiping one of her wings, making her unable to fly. Then he throws her at Endeavor. Endeavor, his sidekick with the green hair, and I'll say Todoroki, slamming him to the ground, pinning them. Then Shigaraki then puts that hand out to make a bigger shockwave to basically crush him. But Deku flies in to punch him directly in the gut, sending out a dragon fist. And then he just basically sends out more dragons, and then sends out one of his spears, and then sends out multiple spears, and like throws a couple on one hand, and then throws another with another hand. Basically, the dragons smack into him, crushing him to the ground. This big spear smashes into him, crushing him and making him bleed. We'll say this made Aizawa lose sight of him, so Shigaraki doesn't lose the fight. Then Deku throws a buttload of spears, and then the spears show up to stab and pin Shigaraki. Then Deku flies up to like a really high point, powers up into that, electric blue state, then dashes to the ground, supersonic style. Then he spins, like Sonic, and as he's doing this, Shigaraki is trying to pull the sword out with his feet. But Aizawa at the same time is getting his vision back, so he's able to see him. And as Deku is about to crash into Shigaraki, he pushes the blade out, which makes Deku have to dodge, missing Shigaraki by like an inch, blowing up where Shigaraki, close vicinity, which makes his entire body scorch all over the place, which almost kills him, but he shoots out tendrils from his back that stab Aizawa in the gut, which makes him blink because he got stabbed, which makes him be able to regenerate. Then he pulls the tendrils closer to him, tearing them out. By the way, Deku is still recovering from that final, hopefully. He was hoping for his final smash, but it didn't work. So he looks over to see Aizawa being pulled in, and getting his face touched. But Deku uses his tendrils, his electric tendrils, to pull him back from him. Basically like Black Whip. Deku's just using Black Whip, basically. But they're coming from his fingernails. So he pulls them, Shigaraki, back, and it basically is the same scene from the anime. And Aizawa has, of course, point-blank seeing, so he's able to cancel out the decay quirk. Basically, every single time Aizawa looks away, he cancels a different quirk. Luckily for him, it was the decay quirk. So Deku pulls Aizawa, pulls Shigaraki up Aizawa, throwing him away. Then he uses his, still in his blue state, he basically flies around Shigaraki with a, basically leaving after images while he punches him, shooting out more and more Dragon Fist, which individually sends out more dragons that also start hitting him. Then Deku flies back with his arms crossed, and then he sends out an electric blast from his tiara thing, which shoots a giant spear out, which stabs Shigaraki again, with Deku manipulating this one up to the sky. And then he blows it up, flying through the explosion right up to Shigaraki. That was a lot of words. Shigaraki. Then he blows up, and sends out a shockwave, which burns Shigaraki's skin, but he regenerates it because he still has that active. Then Shigaraki starts beating Deku up by first grabbing his leg, palming his face, then crushing, I guess, fracturing his skull with his grip. Then tries to tear Deku's leg off, but he dashes out, luckily, which with him holding his head, because, it's fractured. Then he starts crashing down. Bakugo grabs him before he falls and lands. Then Shigaraki just starts getting exhausted, and then finally Endeavor pushes the Dragon Lady off him because she's unconscious, and then flies over to Shigaraki. Then it just starts beating the shit out of Shigaraki because he's how tired he is. So eventually, All For One takes control of Shigaraki and then kicks all the pros off him, and then lands on Gaiketsumakia. And Dabi reveals himself to be Toya, and then they leave. Deku at this time is unconscious because, he kind of used all of his power and has a fractured skull. Then, after Deku has recovered from his head injury, he gets up from the hospital bed, feeling his leg, realizing it's utterly broken. Deku's out of commission. So then he trains to get it back to healed state. Then every single one of the Class 1A gets ready for the second war, because, no vigilante are here. Then they learn that Aoyama is the UA traitor. Then they all collectively agree that All For One is to blame here, so Aoyama gets set free. And so the thing starts with All For One coming out of the portal to confront Aoyama for not betraying the UA class states, but Aoyama blows off his sleeve. Then All For One reveals his villains, and then the pro heroes reveal the pro heroes, with Deku included. So the battle starts with Bakugo and everyone just jumping Shigaraki, with Endeavor fighting All For One, with Shigaraki and Dabi trading off with Todoroki. Okay. So Shigaraki starts out by revealing his disgusting finger stuff and just starts beating back the pro heroes. Mirko then kicks Shigaraki's head, actually concaving it, pushing him back, but he heals it and then slaps her away. Then Best Jeanist grabs him and ties him up, which gives Bakugo the chance to send out a big explosion, and Deku the chance to fly above and send out 3 giant spears, throwing them at him. two pinning him, and then the last one to blow him up. And it blows him up, but he tanks it and then gets into his armored finger form, whatever it's called. And then he starts killing everyone, basically. Miriko, shutdown down. Bestinus down. Bakugo, dead. The string guy, down. It's just Deku up. And then Deku powers up into his electric state. And then he basically dodges all of Shigaraki and is hitting him with like really fast punches. He's trained it, so it's basically even stronger. Then Shigaraki struggles to hit Deku, and Deku just kicks the heck out of him. He shoots kicks, he throws a buttload of spears, like the mini ones. Then he teleports in the air, shooting a bow and arrow into Shigaraki's head. Electric bow and arrow, which basically shock fries his system. Then Deku spins around with the spear again, throwing it into Shigaraki, which shoots him even more onto the ground. Then Deku sends out a buttload of dragons, which basically entangle him with their bodies, like a snake. Then they tighten on him, which actually breaks most of Shigaraki's bones. Of course, he regenerates them. Then he tears all of the dragons off him, and then goes for a bunch of Deku. But he dodges it, because he's as fast as lightning. And then Deku puts a fist against Shigaraki, and then the fist teleports, I guess, upside down into Shigaraki's gut, which makes him throw up through his mask. Throw up blood, I mean. Then the blood hits Deku's face, and then Deku just rapid punches Shigaraki's gut, which makes him puke out more blood. And then he basically lifts his body like Garo did to that one guy. I think you know what I'm talking about. Then Deku sends out a dragon fist. The last punch is a dragon fist, which sends out a gargantuan dragon. Remember that dragon that he sent out against Todoroki? Yeah, that dragon. Which starts beating the crap out of Shigaraki. By the way, Deku's in this dragon, like Kung Fu Panda 4, where Po is in the... or is it... oh no, that's Kung Fu Panda 3, where he's in the dragon and fighting Kai. Basically like that. Then Deku powers up even more, sending the entire dragon, exiting the dragon, by the way, into Shigaraki, which pins him. While he's pinned, All For One... the pro heroes announced that All For One is coming over to Shigaraki. So Deku says he isn't coming over. Then he flies in the direction of All For One. And the dragon fights Shigaraki, which actually puts up an amazing fight against him, because of how big it is. By the way, the All Might is with Shigaraki, All For One, because All For One wants to make an example of him. So Deku flies over to see All For One trying to kill All Might in front of him, but then he realized that All For One, All Might's not in his hands anymore, with him in Deku's. So then he sends out a dragon that All Might lands on and flies away. While all this is happening, Bakugo's being revived, and he gets up to see Shigaraki fighting a big dragon, and him winning against the dragon. So Bakugo decides to hold him off, which Bakugo does a lot better than he did in the original. I mean, he does better than he did the first time. And then the fight against Shigaraki and All For One happens, which basically just Deku just punching All For One and punching him away from when he tries to fly behind him. Deku sends out a dragon to bite him and push him back. Then Deku flies into All For One, tackling him into the ground, making a gigantic crater. Then he sends out a buttload of tendrils from his back, flying up, making the rocks fly below him, smashing into All For One. With Deku seeing All For One trying to burst through it, trying to think that it would distract Deku. But Deku flies backwards, doing like basically a flying backwards flip, landing in front of All For One, grabbing his shoulders, pushing him forward, which makes him, run out of time because he's using too much energy to push Deku back, which makes him turn into a baby, and then Deku grabs the baby's neck and snaps it, which makes the baby just fully disintegrate. Then Deku basically zooms over to where Shigaraki is, seeing Bakugo about to get grabbed, but Deku grabs his hand, then incinerating it because of how much he's glowing. Then Deku realizes that his electric powers are just enhanced for some reason, and it is revealed that the reason his powers are so enhanced is because of the My UA Academy crashing to the ground, sending out all of its electric currents, which Deku undoubtedly has been sending out his shockwave currents through it, which then they all come back to him, juicing him up. Then Deku dashes and just really punches Shigaraki in the chest, which makes his chest burst and then shoot out all kinds of organs, which Deku doesn't care. Then he punches off Shigaraki's mouth off. Then Shigaraki then gets out of that form to be better at fighting. Then Deku dodges a swipe that he was about to do, and then he punches Shigaraki's jaw off. Then he grabs Shigaraki's shoulder, then tearing his arm off. Then he uses a ginormous spear to cut his legs off. Then we look over to see Monoma looking at Shigaraki, so Shigaraki can't regenerate. Then Deku punches his chest through Shigaraki and making him stand on his leg, and basically be held by Deku, and then Deku tears his arm off, pushing him off him, making him land on the ground on his back. Then Deku flies up, grabbing Shigaraki with a electric tendril by his throat, which makes his head burn, actually gooing his brain, making his brain flow out of his non-existent mouth and his nose. Luckily for Deku, Monoma can see really far up. Then Deku sends Shigaraki all the way up to basically the atmosphere. Then he punches Shigaraki with that makes him spin. Then Deku flies up, spinning, and then Superman smashes into him, sending him to the ground. And then he's sending out all of the energy he's been using so far into this one attack. And he smashes into the ground, making a gargantuan crater, which made Monoma actually fly back and most of everyone fly back. Then Deku basically grovels upwards, and then he looks down to see Shigaraki is ash. Not ash, like nothing. There's nothing there. He's been atomized, I guess. Then Deku sits down, awake actually, somehow. Then he does a big exhale and then waves his hand for some help, which Bakugo slides down and picks him up out of the crater and blows them both up onto the thing, putting Deku down, and Deku sleeps. Then the epilogue happens, and Deku's a pro hero, and we see his pro hero outfit actually having stripes of lightning, blue lightning, and his hair has a streak of blue through it, because how many times he's used the blue form now, that it just gave him a blue streak. And we see Deku with goggles this time, so he can protect his eyes more often. And his gloves are now like gloves, like chainmail. He has chainmail hand gloves, and they wear rings. And Deku has more, I guess, pillars. I can't remember what I called them. Put the things on his back and gave his tiara more of them, and he has 3 on his back. 1 big one, 2 small ones. And that's Deku's pro hero outfit in the future. And I would say Deku got top 4. And yeah, that's where I'm gonna end it. Hope you liked the series. Like, subscribe, hit the post notification bells. Like always, I'd really appreciate it if you did that. But anyways, have a good day. Well, I hope you have a good day, and goodbye.